omega-3 rich seeds like sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, flax seeds.
What's your breakfast?
Seeds. My breakfast tends to be a smoothie, actually. So I love having a smoothie in the morning to get me up in the morning.
How do you make your smoothie?
Oh my goodness! So everything goes in there.
Okay, I want to know.
Protein rich.
Yes, protein
and fats.
Because I used to do smoothies that didn't have protein in it.
Oh
and
no!
Massive blood sugar spike.
Yeah. Well, you've got those, lots of smoothies out there that they sell in all sorts of cafes. I won't mention any brands, but there are some particularly bad ones out there that are just high in sugar because it's just fruits. And a lot of them you think it's an actual smoothie, but actually what they've done is put like concentrated grape juice in them and blended a strawberry with it or something like that. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But no, I have protein in there. I use vegan protein because it tends to have a better impact on the body than whey, which can actually cause bloating and a lot of inflammation. Yeah. So I use Form Nutrition, or I use Vega protein, or sometimes Raw Sport, which are all beautiful.
Yeah, I use Will Powders. There's a bone broth.
The bone broth.
Yeah, that's really good. That works really well for me, and I can really feel that difference. And yours is what was it made of?
I use vegan protein, so it's a mix of quinoa and pea protein and those types of proteins there to have a full form amino acid, so full protein source. So I tend to use Form Nutrition's vegan protein. I put chlorella and spirulina in there to help detoxify heavy metals, because living in London, the water and all the pollution we're breathing in, to be quite honest, we're full of toxins even if we eat organic.
Yeah, I see my husband, he's just downing a lot of chlorella, so I'm just
all the time. So I put it in my morning smoothie, and I mean, it's full of amino acids and they're so good for you as well. I put in a big cup, like half a cup full of omega-3 rich seeds, so the pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds and flax seeds. I put in there sometimes a tablespoon of peanut butter, that's just more for taste. I put in there a big scoop of collagen powder. I use Corexco's collagen powder. I use coconut milk because I just love coconut milk. I use frozen spinach, balls of frozen spinach, because then you don't have to worry about the spinach going off. And frozen fruit.
I also heard about frozen spinach that it's, it has more, what's it called? I mean, because
it has more nutrients in, because it's basically it's frozen straight away.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many of us think that we're going on a health kick and we buy bags of spinach and the next day it's all slimy? It's a bit like avocados, right? Yeah. Like they're not ripe and then they're suddenly ripe and then it's over. Same with spinach.
Actually freezing your spinach or buying it frozen, that's the key.
I buy the frozen spinach balls, or if I buy too much spinach, I'll just simply put it in the freezer. And then I have the frozen berries, the frozen spinach, and then I put that with my protein and my seeds and my chlorella and spirulina and my coconut milk and blend it all up.
Oh my god, that sounds delicious.
It's the best smoothie you'll ever have, if I may say so myself.
That sounds delicious. And you didn't mention any like sugary granola or anything on top?
No, I don't. I mean, those kind of foods, I think, if something isn't living, basically, then I don't really use it. And we're not talking about, Notting Hill with the fruitarians and picking things off of trees and they're not being live anymore. But there are too many phantom foods out there, and you can walk through supermarkets these days, and a lot of the Asian supermarkets too, and they're literally just phantom foods. They've never been real and they never will be real. And whilst granola has got some really good things, and like if you get like a really good like nuts and seed heavy granola, they're fantastic. A lot of the time it just tends to be sugars in there, if not refined sugar, then a lot of fruit sugars, dried fruit and oats. And okay, if you're doing a triathlon or you're running a lot, then okay, that's fine. But actually, we think, oats and dried fruit, fantastic. It's actually really high in sugar. And for the average Joe, especially if you're sedentary or you're an office worker or not really moving that much, you really don't need that first thing in the morning. And what you need first thing in the morning is protein and fats to support hormonal regulation, to curb any cravings, to support your mood and your brain health, and just support overall well-being and optimal function.
For me, I think the number one thing that has completely changed my health is having protein-rich breakfast.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't do that before, and I can feel, everything changed when I started doing that.
That's exactly it. So rather than fasting, have a protein and fat-rich breakfast, like a smoothie. If you're not an eater in the morning, have a smoothie, because it's just like having a thick drink. But
have it the right way. Have it protein-rich, good protein.
And vegetables in there, not just fruits.
I use just water, and I have a lot of celery, a lot of ginger, and like half a lemon, and then I put some frozen berries in there, and then I have my protein powder and
That
my
sounds lovely.
collagen, and it's so good.
I bet it's delicious.
And it doesn't. I wear a glucose monitor, and it doesn't spike my.
Well, the ginger in there too will also be really helpful for that as well, for digestion.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, I do that in the morning, and my morning routine, that, you know, the thing that I don't compensate on, and I feel it if I don't do it, is I go out onto my balcony first thing in the morning. I'm lucky enough to have a balcony in London, but I do it come rain or shine. If it's cold, I still go out, just change what I'm wearing. And I go and do 20 minutes of yoga or Pilates in the morning, usually about 6:45 in the morning, 7 in the morning, expose my eyes to the light, even if it's not bright sun.
Setting your circadian rhythm.
I set my circadian rhythm, that's exactly it, and I get the body moving. And I think sometimes going to the gym in the morning can be a bit stressful on the body, or you can feel a bit overwhelmed, and sometimes for people that means that there's a lack of commitment there. Whereas we can all do 20 minutes. So I literally just start the day with 20 minutes. If I want to do more, I will, but 20 minutes of Pilates or yoga, I alternate it outside on my balcony, so it sets the circadian rhythm. I start the day moving and stretching and elongating the body. Then I come on in and I have my smoothie.
So you can just you feel so much calmer when you actually wake up the body. And I think the key is not to overdo it. Not to feel like you have to do that. You have to do a full-on HIIT session.
It takes the joy out of it if you do that. And also remember, our cortisol is quite high in the morning. If we then go and do HIIT sessions in the morning, so high intensity interval training, that increases our cortisol even more. So you've got so many people these days that are just living on fumes and cortisol, because all they're doing is getting up super early, they're stressed, they're going straight onto their phones, reading emails, they're skipping breakfast, they're having a coffee, and then they're going to the gym and doing a HIIT workout. How many people do that? I would say probably 70% of the population, or the people who can.
But that's like a recipe for a burnout.
It's a recipe for burnout, because HIIT actually increases cortisol, and actually cortisol can stay in the body for up to 72 hours, which is one of the reasons why athletes are told to have low intensity steady state days or rest days, to help also cycle that cortisol out of the body.
So what would you say is kind of a good, because you help athletes as well with what would you do, a week of training? What would you schedule that with?
I would do maybe a couple of days of higher intensity. I would start most days actually, so whether it's 5 or 7 days a week, it doesn't really matter, but start most days with 20 minutes of Pilates or yoga in the morning, because it stretches the body, it helps with mobility, you're stretching out the joints, you're stretching out the muscles, it's perfect. And you're also doing body weight exercises, right? So that's a good way to start the day, just 20 minutes in the morning. I'd say do that every day. I'd say then do a couple of high intensity days in the week, maybe one that's a bit more endurance focused, so like a long run or a long period on maybe a bike or something like that, or an hour swim or something, and then something just for fun. So just do something for fun. Go and dance, go and move, go and do martial arts.
I love dancing.
But so do I, and it's wonderful. I mean, dancing actually increases dopamine, increases serotonin, and oxytocin, bonding hormones.
I have my headphones in, and I can do that at home. Just some good music.
That's exactly it.
My neighbours downstairs are okay, but that's really good. You feel happy.
I think that it's so important just to do things that, rather than doing things because we feel we should do them, them because we enjoy them. And then we get the hormonal benefit with it, versus stressing ourselves out and doing HIIT first thing in the morning, high intensity interval training, and increasing our cortisol even more. Do something you really enjoy, whether that is martial arts or whether it's swimming. Maybe you do really enjoy that HIIT training, just make sure you then don't do as much, but space it out. Do something that actually empowers you and you feel passionate about, and you feel you're in the flow state. But I think,
and something that is sustainable.
Well, it is sustainable if you enjoy it.
If you enjoy it, No, absolutely.
So something that keeps the body supple, like the Pilates and yoga in the morning, some endurance training, some HIIT, and some weight training.
Some HIIT every week.
A little bit, just a little bit.
You should sweat every week.
That doesn't have to be something like, it doesn't have to be, going to doing a CrossFit class or something. HIIT could literally be you in your living room doing some star jumps and things like that. It could literally be you doing some high intensity exercises by yourself at home, which isn't in like a third space or something like that. It doesn't have to be what we think of as a HIIT class. It's just getting the body sweating. It's something that gets the heart rate up, right? But I would also say strength training, because strength training and keeping muscular endurance is going to enhance our longevity as we get older.
Bone density.
Bone density, it protects us, because if we don't have the muscular strength to support our bones, as we get older, our bones will hurt more and more, we'll get more and more joint problems. Having the muscular endurance to take some of that weight from our bones will support us into a healthy older age. And I don't know whether you know much about the blue zones and the centenarians.
No, tell me.
So the blue zones are the areas in the world that have got the highest rate of centenarians, so people over 100 years old. And there's a few things they have in common, but a lot of these regions had in common movement. But movements, they were sitting on the floor a lot of the day. So a lot of like in Okinawa in the Japanese cultures, sitting on the floor, and you've got 100-year-olds sitting on the floor and getting up all the time. Anytime they need to move, they're getting up and they're getting down. They're doing squats all day basically. And you've got people in places in Sardinia who live in very steep, like roads, really like well, I want to say like, you know, not 50% inclines, but you know, very steep inclines.
Yeah.
And they're climbing up the village. That's like doing, you know, like stairs every single day, and you have to mobilize the core. So these cultures are inherently, without going to the gym or anything, they're getting up and down all the time. They're doing these squats.
I have
that
squats are
movement.
one of the best
They are,
things to do.
and crouching.
Yeah.
You know, like the crouch, how you see children in a crouch position. It's so good for our subtlety.
Oh, do you mean when you sit on
When
the floor?
you rather than sitting on the floor, sitting in a crouch position,
Yeah,
and you see a lot of cultures in Asia just sat in a crouch because that is a comfortable position. But we tighten up in the Western culture because we're used to sitting on chairs, whereas in a lot of the other non-Western Eastern cultures, they still crouch, and that flexibility, being able to do that, is longevity enhancing. Aside from things like community and purpose and enjoying life and having connections, social connections, and the enjoyment side of things and the nutrition. This is all inherent.
Of course. Oh, that's very fascinating. Yeah, squatting is good.
It is.
Can I ask you? I think you mentioned with sleep, but also, if you can name 3 non-negotiables you do every day.
So my morning yoga and Pilates, whichever one I want to do. Sometimes I combine them both. My morning smoothie, and another non-negotiable really is taking me time. And that sounds boring, but beforehand I used to roll out of bed and I'd get onto my phone and look at my emails, and I would start the day doing that. Whereas now I do me first, and my mental health is so much better for it. So I'd start with Pilates or yoga. While I'm doing that, I'm doing breath work, right? So I do it properly, and I concentrate on my breath work as I'm doing it. I then have my smoothie, and I take time for me. So I sit on my balcony, I'll have my decaf coffee, I'm a decaf, with some cordyceps in there and some collagen, and I'll sit there and I'll just take some time for me before I deal with the world. And that space gives me mental clarity, and it gives me emotional space to then be able to support everybody else that I might need to support in the day.
Yeah, that's like nailing the first part of the day for you, and then you can take on the world.
Otherwise I feel like my energy isn't grounded, and I feel like it really disturbs my emotional and hormonal state for the rest of the day if I don't do those things. And it's not to say that I can do that every day. You know, sometimes there are days where, you know, I don't know, for example, I've just been going through IVF and egg collection. I had to go and have an egg collection yesterday, and I had to get up at 6 in the morning. I did 10 minutes of yoga in the morning on the balcony. I didn't do my full 20 minutes, but I did 10 minutes of that. Didn't have my smoothie because I wasn't allowed, and I went for it, and that was fine, and my day was okay. But I missed it. Even though it was 10 minutes left, I really missed it. But also, like,
if you miss it for several days, then you can feel your mental health going down. That's how I feel with my non-negotiables.
It's a cumulative, and good night's sleep. I desperately need a good night's sleep. I know, especially as I've got older, I think we all need a good night's sleep. But I don't think we realise the importance of it. And certainly I used to work in the financial services arena, and I'd work with people who said, oh, I can get away with 3 hours sleep a night, I'm fine. It's like, okay, you might feel fine at the moment, but one day it's going to hit you and it won't be quite so fine. And, if we don't have good night's sleep, that plays on our hormones, it plays on our mental health, on our cognitive health. It's actually related to cognitive decline and things like Alzheimer's, let alone mental health and obesity and diabetes.
I mean, it's really, really empowering learning about all these things, but also, keeping to remind ourselves that to change a few things, because if you change one thing, it can have like a real good effect in so many different areas of your life. So I'm going to take with this, not using my phone before I go to bed for maybe an hour before going to bed.
And an hour is good. If you can do 2 hours, then 2 hours. But not just your phone, like screen time as well.
Screen time. So fine if you're reading.
It's fine if you're reading.
Okay.
But try to read a proper book. Try to read a proper book though. And I know a lot of people, will like iPads and things like that these days. No. But try to read a proper book.
Like a proper book.
But remember,
if I have any brain power left at night. But I will try.
There's a term we use in neuroscience, obviously my background's there, which is neuroplasticity.